I have a theory when it comes to all of this like trans stuff is they're trying and this love, this boy love they call it, that they want kids under the age of 9 or so before they actually start having like actual feelings for the opposite sex, and they want to confuse them that, oh, your best friend, that's love, because boys when they start to grow up they're like, oh, you have cooties, stay away, that kind of thing. So they want to get them while they're young.
Yeah, well, look
True.
at this rule. Look at this ruling in New York, where this child is 8 years old, and they're already going to
Oh
give
yeah.
it puberty blockers, where the father has no say so whatsoever. At 8 years old, to start giving these drugs, you don't even know how to behave at 8 years old.
Hmm.
And what is
It's
that
so
going to do to
sad.
their mind?
And
It's horrible.
yeah. And speaking of trans, I had one trans student my whole career. And then it started being one trans right when I left the system. It was one trans student per classroom. It used to be one trans student per school
Yep.
of 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 kids. And it was usually a boy wanting to be a girl. And now it's switched. Now there's all these girls
Hmm.
that are wanting to be boys, and a lot of it has to do with the fact that girls go through puberty and they have self-esteem issues. They don't like their own body. You'll notice like there's a trans clinic here in Florida that should be shut down, but there's pictures of the before and afters of the girls that all got their double mastectomies, and I would say 90% of them are overweight and don't have like a Cindy Crawford look, right? If they
Hmm.
looked like Cindy Crawford, they would have not done that,
Right.
right?
Right.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I think it's about, yeah, go ahead.
Now, how much of that do you think is also to the lack of strong fathers in the household, loving fathers that are united with the mother and that are caring and involved with their daughters' lives? How much of those do you think are not there, that are not
That's
there to encourage and
huge.
lift those young girls up? I think the
Yeah,
fatherless, the lack of fathers in the household, and to me, that was pushed on, the African American community. We should be really upset about that because, the 94 crime bill that Joe Biden passed, and even before I think it was in 1988, the crack cocaine laws that came down
mhm.
to divide these families, more and more. I think that that's a huge part of what we're facing today, the lack of fathers, God presence of mother and father together in the household.
Oh, that's the whole nature versus nurture debate, and I think that is like 90% of it.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And if you put a child, for example, my husband and I, we wanted to foster to adopt, and that was my goal in life. But once I can't have my own biological kids, I was like, I'm going to foster to adopt. And we actually got our foster license right before the pandemic in California, and we were getting calls about these foster kids. They were all older. I wanted younger, and we finally got a call about this 10-year-old girl. And the social worker was like, okay, this girl, she is questioning her sexuality and her gender, and will you support her on this? And I said, no, she's only 10 years old. And if you look into studies on foster children, they are more likely to be LGBTQ and trans. And
Hmm.
those kids are abused. They're abused children. And
Yep.
so there's definitely a connection between the parents and the way they treat their child and how the child loves themselves and treat themselves sexually and their gender and all of that. But after that, they stopped calling me. We didn't get any more
Hmm.
calls for kids.
Mm.
And they discriminated against me because I wasn't willing to help this 10-year-old transition. And I
Yeah.
mean, I think in the end it was meant to be because I don't think I could have followed the COVID rules. And with foster kids, you have to follow all the rules. Like if the foster told the social worker that we were traveling or we weren't wearing masks, right?
Yeah.
Um, that would have been hard to have that child taken from me or something like that. But it's so sad. It's so sad, the attack on our nation's children, and that's where we as adults, we have to stand up and not just protect our own children but other people's children as well.
There's a video that just came out. I saw it yesterday on Instagram where there's a volleyball team with 4 or 5 men playing on the girls' team, and they're starting over the girls. Or at least, in the video, they're playing over, and all the girls are kind of sitting back. They ended up winning, but it just has me thinking, like, where do you think this? Like, I don't know how anybody can't look at that video objectively and go, "That's crazy." You
Well, it
know,
might do good things for women's basketball because that's boring. So if we
I said the other day on the show, I think that's what Dwayne Wade is doing. That's why he
yeah,
transitioned his son, because he's going to buy
yeah.
a WNBA team and he's going to put his son in there and
Oh,
take over. So that's his future retirement.
that's good. That's good.